constitutional right to contest for the position of governor. When Obasanjo said he wants to enter the court now, we can say that to all Nigerians. We can say it.
1914 to 2014, 100 years of the existence of Nigeria as a united entity. 100 years after the amalgamation of the Northern and Southern Protectorate. 100 years of checkered history that witnessed a 3-year civil war. 100 years of agitations and claims of marginalization and sometimes oppression. Yet, this is 100 years of unrivaled strength and, if you like, an endorsement of divine approval. I'll be right back on Head to Head. I'm now being joined on the program by Tony Nadi, the Secretary General of Lower Niger Congress. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, sir.
All right, this is 100 years of the existence of Nigeria. How would you describe the journey so far?
Well, it's been a union of attrition and a journey of pain for the southern part of Nigeria that was annexed to the north, because that was what happened in the amalgamation. It was just a matter of, moving forward the colonialism that the British were forward-looking, knowing that they would not be here forever. They prepared the northern part of the country to take over from them, and we go from external colonialism to internal colonialism, and that's what we've been living with. Just like it happened in South Africa, where in 1910 the people thought they were getting independent, only to go into the apartheid regime that created two systems in one.
The position you're taking
yes.
will be totally different from what someone else who comes from the northern part of Nigeria will take, because that suggests clearly the deep divide across the country.
The records are there. We took time to commission a research that went into the archives of the British, and everywhere in the world we could find some material. And we have in our hands now evidence of what transpired step by step. The 1914 event was just a culmination of something that took close to 12 years to do. And in all those 12 years, the group that the British wanted to hand over to were working it with them. And it was just 3 days to the announcement, to the proclamation, of the January 1914 amalgamation, that the South was brought into it, just by a gazette, meaning that it was hidden from the South at the time it was being done. I was surprised a few days ago to see, to hear some of my senior colleagues, Professors Isesage and Oyebode, talking about the amalgamation as not being a treaty. What happened was that the British had conquered various territories, and each of them had a separate treaty. Like the one of Lagos was 1861. They had a different one with the Jaw, the Robo, the Shekri, the Igbo, like that. And gradually they merged them into what became Southern Protectorate and then Northern Protectorate. What happened in 1914 was that they gradually merged the systems, the tax, the judiciary, like that. And in all those years, it was top secret, because one was to be subjugated to the other.
That's actually where the dividing line lies,
yes.
Saying that the arrangement was designed originally
to
favor a section.
We have records of it.
But that doesn't appear to be what
no, we have records
of Nigerians think.
We have records of it, and it's already before the courts, and the whole world will see it. It won't be a matter of conjecture anymore. We have it right before the court, because we didn't want it to something of those who are speculating can go on to speculate. I have black and white of what even the longhand of the people who did it.
Okay.
And therefore,
but if there was an initial arrangement to favor one section,
yes.
But for these 100 years,
yes.
the entire entity had stayed together.
It has been kept by force.
It
has been kept by brutal force.
By who?
By those whose project it is, because it is not my project. It is not Yoruba project. It is not a job project. The British whose project it was found a way to keep it. But from the time they handed it over, those to whom they handed over had to keep it by force. That was what consumed 3.5 million lives in Biafra, when for the first time people wanted to become really independent. Because what happened in 1960 was just a transition from external colonialism to internal colonialism. And if you probe a little, you will see that if in the first week of independence, Ahmadu Bello, the then champion of the then Premier of Northern Region, celebrating that bequest of the British to the North, told his lieutenants that the new country called Nigeria should be an estate of their great-grandfather Osman Danfodio.
We
have record of it.
Well, it's not common knowledge.
No, it is those who care should go to the archives today.
It is
and
not.
No, those who care can go and see it. Those who care can go to the archives. It's because our people refuse to read, refuse to research. It was reported in the papers all the time.
Nigerians had lived together.
October 12,
100 years.
October 12, 1960. The Parrot newspaper reported it as what was, that was the week of independence. While the rest of us were drinking champagne that the British were going, Ahmadu Bello was celebrating the bequest of southern Nigeria to northern Nigeria.
That remains within a very small circle. Majority of Nigerians...
What do you call majority?
Majority of Nigerians in terms of number are satisfied that Nigeria has stayed together for 100 years despite the challenges. Now, the question to you now is, within this 100 years, what are the things that have been done correctly that, you will recommend that it continues in Nigeria?
I wish I could find any. I wish I could find any. Nigeria was designed as a criminal enterprise from the scratch. The British came here not for your interest, not for my interest, to hunt for fortune.
Yeah, we all know that, but somehow, somewhere, we became a country known as Nigeria. Within this 100 years, my question to you, Mr. Nadi, is what have we done correctly that you think we should go on with?
In terms of salvaging what could be salvaged, in the period between 1954 and 1966, when the British of necessity had to go because they had been fought to a standstill somewhat, they worked out what would be the basis of relationship between the territory, the various peoples they had wedged together. And it became something we call the federal arrangement, in which the three regions of the time were to operate like independent countries cooperating, like European Union of today. Therefore, we had a Western region constitution that came into being in 1957. They became internally independent at that time. The East followed, and in 1959, the North followed. And in that short period, you could see that all of what we're still building on today happened in that short period. But because of the underlying anomalies...
That's credit.
Yeah, that's a bit of credit.
Okay.
Of course, to let you know how far that credit could go, the Prime Minister of the UK at the time, Wilson, had occasion to say that Obafemi Awolowo could actually was knowledgeable enough to be Prime Minister of the UK or President of the United States. And for the Yoruba, for the Western region, of course, you saw how they went from education to all kinds of things. They grew.
So moving forward, within this 100 years, Nigeria has developed in terms of education.
Well, the Western region led the pack.
Okay.
The East caught up with it in no time.
Okay.
The North was still unable to make up its mind whether it wanted education or not.
Okay.
And then that's what has brought us to where we are today, because not only have they refused to embrace education in the manner that our developmental level requires, they insist on ruling over others with ignorance that they have promoted to the high heavens.
Okay, let me just remind you, President Jonathan in his New Year message said that amalgamation was not an accident but an act of God. On the other hand, a professor at the University of Ibadan, Professor Michael Asuzu, says the Treaty of 1914 has 99 years, in other words, implying that it expired on the 1st of January.
Yeah.
These are two sides of the coin. Yeah. Where do you stand?
First, I know for certain that Frederick Lugard is not God. We have records from the archives of what he did day by day until the proclamation was done 1st January 1914. Therefore, if anybody says it's God, that it probably
act of God.
It then suggests that it was the devil that created the Soviet Union or Czechoslovakia or all the other unions that have collapsed, or Yugoslavia. People did these things, and the records are there. It didn't happen from the blues. And there were intentions, there were motives, and those motives were carried forward by action which sustained it to date. The only thing that has changed now is that just like Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Governor Mbeki, and co. decided to end the regime of apartheid by pulling down the apartheid constitution, we have in Nigeria today people who are as committed as those gentlemen to pull down and destroy that internal colonialism, the apartheid constitution that has become the 1999 constitution. Because from the time they toppled the 5 constitutions that defined the union, because we will soon get into the matter of what to do next. From the time in 1966 that the 5 constitutions that defined the Nigerian union got toppled, we went away from federalism, which was the only basis that the Nigerian union could have become one country, to unitarism.
That was actually as a result of a series of military intervention.
Yes.
Yes. Now we are back to democracy. And it's expected that we are back to.
We are not back to any democracy.
Okay.
Except you are going to change the definition of democracy to suit your country, Nigeria. The democracy I know.
My country, Nigeria. You are a Nigerian.
Well, it's in dispute now. We do. If you take a referendum, because you said earlier that majority of the people are happy that we are here. If you took a referendum anytime from 1970 to date, the result you will get is what the American War College report of June 2013 confirmed, that there are more now who want to opt out of the place than those who want to stay. If you go to referendum now, that is what you find, more than 3/4. I'm in the field.
Your assumption?
Not assumption, I'm in the field.
Okay,
let us go to referendum. Nigeria is now like a construction site in which 3/4 of those present are not building. They are seeking to pull down what the structure that enslaved them.
Which part of it are you in? Building or pulling down?
I am 100% committed to destroying that Nigeria that enslaved me, to replace it. We are working for reconstruction. I don't see anybody alive in Nigeria now who has done more to try to keep the union. You remember Pronaco? Where
do you stand?
Where I stand is, let's raise this. Where I stand is that at this point, you saw the World Press Conference we had the other day. This is the suggestion my organization is making, and it is backed up by ethnic nationalities who are trapped in the Union of Nigeria, to say that if after 100 years we cannot find common ground, and some people in this stretch say it is Sharia or nothing, because they passed Sharia, it didn't start with Boko Haram. They passed Sharia law quite apart from all the other complaints. In year 2000, they found a way to enact Sharia law across these 12 contiguous states, which make it impossible for me to function from Sokoto or Kano or Maiduguri, whereas they can function all around the rest of the country. But the worst part of it being that their fate required them to kill me. And I can't make any distinction between those who passed the Sharia law of that time and the Boko Haram that came later to enforce it.
Mr. Nadi, we will take a very quick break now. When we come back, I expect that you go straight to tell me where you stand, because your explanation is getting a little bit long.
Yes.
And I need to get used to say, I am building or I am destroying.
No, we will have to wind up the Nigerian Union as defined by force.
We'll take a very quick break now. The program will continue in a moment. Thank you so much for staying with us. This is Head to Head, and my guest here is Mr. Tony Nadi. We're discussing the future of the amalgamated country, Nigeria. The last question was, where do you stand? You said that a lot of Nigerians, 3/4 of Nigerians, you said, are committed to pulling out of the entity called Nigeria. And I'm asking you, you further said, anyway, that some people are building, whereas others are pulling down.
Yes.
And I'm asking you, Mr. Nadi, straight to the point, are you building Nigeria or are you pulling down Nigeria?
I'm pulling down unitary Nigeria. Whatever it will take to pull down unitary Nigeria, it's not Nigeria that we are rejecting per se. We live amongst ourselves. I have family and friends across the country, and we've done more than any group can claim to try to preserve it. That was what brought about the Pronaco conference, in which we brought all the ethnic nationalities to come to look at the matter again, away from government influence. And we saw the outcome of it. I was secretary of the committee that drafted the constitution that emerged from it. And since 2006, we have tried to sell it to others. But those who say that they are forever born to rule the rest, say that no such thing can happen. That
are you saying that after about 14 years of practicing democracy, we still have a unitary government in Nigeria?
There's no democracy anywhere. I was saying that the democracy, the definition of the democracy I know is that in which there's a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Let me explain. Government of the people means that the people make the supreme charter, just like the shareholders of a company make the memo and articles of their company. That is the foundation, upon which you now come to the second leg, by the people, because it is the foundation you have that define the politics, the elections, and all of what happens in governance. And it is when you've gotten the first two right that you now come to the third one, for the people, because the people originally designed the thing that will drive everything, and they make provisions for themselves in what they get in that whole arrangement. But because we have a situation where we've not addressed the first leg, people, soldiers, and all kinds of characters make decrees upon decrees upon decrees, which Absalom Abaka compiled in 1999 and called the 1999 Constitution, upon which we are now conducting elections and pretending we're having a democracy. We don't have a democracy.
I have a feeling that one of your biggest challenge is the makeup of the Nigerian Constitution, and probably the proposal to have a national conference may provide solution to your concerns.
Well, if anybody is thinking that we'll have to build from the roof again, what happened in 1914 was that they built from the roof. They locked everybody in and called it Nigeria. What happened in 1966 was that they reinforced that to define everything for everybody, and we had to live with it. We are now at a point where we have a president that is courageous enough to accept that there's something we need to fix, and he has called a conference. Now, what I expect is that we should look up to South Africa that passed through the exact bus stop we have arrived now, where a majority that have been enslaved by a minority rose up to reject the constitution that enslaved them. And a sitting government headed by Frederick de Klerk was courageous enough to admit that the apartheid constitution could no longer hold the society together. And therefore they went into a conference that first had to put aside, everybody realized that there was nothing to be taken from the apartheid constitution, and that is our position for today. Not one alphabet to be taken from this constitution. Even the name Nigeria cannot stand because it was here. How much less the 36 states or 7 and 4 local government areas and all the 68.
Are you favorably disposed to the convocation of a national conference? That's the question.
We are disposed to it as long as we understand what the business is for. It is not the kind of jamboree that had happened so many times in the past that we look forward to. We expect that there will be honesty and sincerity this time to say that let those who are going to federate sit down and work out the formations in which they want to federate. That is, let them accept that they will be in the Nigerian Union first, and then work out the formations in which they will federate. It is after they've done that that you will now come to the center to have a meeting to form a central government by ceding some of the authority, because a federation is a union of constitutions. I was surprised the other day that Professor Benwa Beze could be articulating a position that seemed to suggest that one constitution is all we require for a federation. I don't know who taught him that kind of jurisprudence.
You have your right to express your view.
No.
However, the
professor
also has his rights.
He cannot
hold a view.
No, it's not a matter of view. He's misleading a whole number of people, because he also boasted.
The same way someone will accuse
no.
He boasted.
No. He boasted. I've challenged him to a debate. He ran away. He did something in Vanguard that took 3 pages. We went to Vanguard because we had taken out an advertorial to list out how these things, the bulletins that MNN have been issuing to clarify and throw light around these issues. Now, he boasted in his write-up that he was one of the 6 that worked with Rotimi Williams under the instructions of Murtala Mohammed of the time to draft a constitution in advance before a meeting that became Constituent Assembly was called in 1977. And that was how we formalized the unitarism that came by the accident of military intervention in 1966. And therefore, for him to wake up in 2013 and be recommending that that is what to do, one had to challenge it to say, you cannot suggest that a federation will operate with one constitution. You cannot suggest that the sovereignty of the people vests in the government or the National Assembly. I don't know whoever taught that kind of jurisprudence. You understand? And now, because these are the things he says, that he says it's difficult to talk about sovereign conference when a government is in place. It's just like suggesting that the management hired by a company have now become the owners of the company over and above the owners of the company, who are the shareholders. Who makes the memo and articles of a company? If a day comes when the owners of the company, when the memo and articles of a company is thrown out by the management and replaced according to their own wishes, excluding that ownership from the real owners, you know that they can go and meet under a mango tree and dissolve their company.
Now, Mr. Nadi, moving forward.
Yes.
I am comfortable with the fact that you are favorably disposed to the convocation of the national conference. However, you have your questions about the modality, because I think that's where we differ.
Yes.
Or where you have issues with what is going on.
We must accept the minimum, and anything less than that, no conference will take place. And I can assure you that nobody will be able to hold this union together by force any longer.
Is that a threat, or you're just sounding a warning?
The ethnic nationalities came out. I'm sure your studio, your TV house was there the other day when we had a World Press Conference. Those who are saying it, starting with the matter of holding any further elections under this constitution, I can tell you for sure that no election will happen under this constitution any longer.
Including state government elections?
No, we're talking about federal elections.
Okay.
The one they advertised for 2015, okay. I can give you my guarantee that no election will happen under this constitution at all.
Okay. And
if between now and the time we can work out an alternative, we do not have something that is acceptable to that majority,
yes,
that Tambuwal accepted was out there, because he said all the politicians put together come to less than 25% of the country's population. I speak on behalf of that 75% that is neither for PDP or APP or APC. We are saying that on no account will we allow one more election under this instrument of oppression.
Let's go to the options available to us now.
Yes.
You said the constitution, as far as you're concerned, can no longer stand.
Will not stand.
However,
whatever it will take to pull it down, we will do so.
Well,
we've been in court since 2007 to afford Nigeria the opportunity of resolving the matter under a roof, but it has been bluffed, and we have been called names. It may be settled on the street.
You ignored you opted for a judicial approach to solve the problem.
Yes.
It didn't work.
No, it's still in process. It's still in process.
And now President Jonathan, for more than how many years now? For more than 8 years, you've been on that journey, and it hasn't worked. For now, President Jonathan has offered a platform for the national conference where all the ethnic nationalities, which you say you represent, will come together and decide on how to move on.
Yes.
And you're having issues with it.
No, from the terms of reference, we got alarmed and we raised the red flag that it was being packaged as if we're just going to reinforce what was already in place. Now, where we differ is that the basis of representation certainly should be ethnic nationalities, but in the formation of their federating. It's not every little Isoko or Ogoni or Idoma that will have to come, because there will be too many of them.
Okay, Mr. Nadi.
Yes.
Finally, moving forward in 30 seconds, what is the option?
The option,
30 seconds.
The choice we must make now is either to restore the autonomy of the federating units according to their own designs of how to federate, not the states. All the things that were done since 1966, none of them will be taken at all. And if we cannot restore that autonomy to their satisfaction in course of this conference, then everybody will be at liberty to exercise their right to self-determination as provided by the UN instrument on the question of what rights accrue to you in your ancestral land.
Thank you so much.
That is where we are.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nadi, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, you two that watch the program. Because of you, we are here. We do it again next time.
I have my right to contest for the position of government.